Good evening, everyone, and welcome to week 4 of Team Hearth League's Friday night fights. We've got two matches queued up for you tonight. Joining me in the booth for the cast is Markshire. Markshire, what's up, man?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Man, I'm great. I'm excited for these matches. These are going to be some quality play. Give us a heads up on who's our first match and what decks are they taking?
Yeah, so first up, we've got Me, Myself, and I of Team Hearthstone Academy going up against Rebobson of Prep Coin Concede. So MMI is bringing Druid, Paladin, Rogue, and Shaman, and Rebobson is bringing Druid, Priest, Rogue, and Warlock. And the bans are already in, so we know that Rebobson is banning Druid, and Me, Myself, and I is banning Rogue.
Super interesting. So I this is the first week post nerf. So this is the first time we're seeing Rogue being entered as part of the lineup. What do you think they're playing? Do you think they're going with Classic Miracle, or do you think people are trying this new Keleseth tempo idea?
I would guess that they're bringing the new Keleseth Tempo Rogue. Rogue has been an interesting class in THL because throughout Rogue's history, it's been very weak to aggressive decks. So people are sort of hesitant of bringing it, even when Miracle has been strong, because you see your opponent's classes beforehand in THL. Your opponent can just go all aggro and be favored against Rogue. But this Keleseth Tempo Rogue generally does pretty well against aggro from what I've seen. So it'll be really interesting. It makes the class a lot harder to target.
And with the absence of Pirate Warrior being its 1 week aggro class, it seems like Rogue has had that room to open up in the meta.
Yeah, I know the Fiery War Axe nerf definitely does a lot for the whole THL meta. I'm not quite convinced that the deck is dead. I've definitely seen some versions with the Keleseth of their own make top legend. And some decks that are just standard Pirate Warrior running the 3-mana War Axe still do okay, but I think it's a deck that people are moving away from at the moment.
So looking at these two deck lineups with at post the ban, we have Me, Myself, and I with Paladin, Rogue, Shaman, Rebobson, Druid, Priest, Warlock. Rebobson's lineup looks a good bit slower. I would think this is more control oriented. What's your take on these two lineups?
Yeah, definitely a slower lineup. I would say that Priest is a guarantee to be a control deck, but we've actually seen aggro Priest crop up recently. I think Ridiculous Hat, who we'll see later, was playing that on stream a couple days ago. But Priest and Warlock are, I can pretty confidently say that they'll be slower decks.
Hey guys.
Whereas Rogue, Paladin, and Shaman are probably more aggressive. Yes.
Hey, it looks like they're starting, and they went ahead and got started.
Great. We'll
Okay.
we'll start loading up the match now. Yeah, I'm actually just talking while my client loads the spectator mode.
Great. Okay.
So we are going to jump right into it. It looks like we will have Me, Myself, and I on the player's perspective, and Rebobson will be on the opponent's perspective for the viewers. And the opening will be Paladin for Me, Myself, and I versus the Warlock of Rebobson. Quickly, Markshire, who do you favor in this matchup here?
I would give the edge to the Paladin here. I think the Murloc Paladin is just able to make difficult boards that the Warlock can deal with, especially with cards like Spike Ridge Steed. Just a bunch of health combined with other small minions makes it really difficult for the Warlock to clear.
Yep, and let's see. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Warlock does have access to a lot of different board clears. We already see the Hellfire and the Defile in Rebobson's hand. Those can do a lot of work if left unchecked.
Yeah, so far, Me, Myself, and I with a pretty good aggressive start. The Grimscale Chum came out early, followed up with the Rockpool Hunter. That's exactly what Paladin wants to see. And as you said, Rebobson's got a little bit of removal tool, that Defile coming in off the top, plus, well, looks like we won't get to see it comboed with Thalnos, but the Defile could make a huge board clear even in the mid game.
Yeah, interesting to note that Murloc War Leader was one of the cards that got hit with the recent nerfs, so it no longer gives a +1 health buff. In this particular situation, that doesn't end up mattering, this Hellfire is going to deal with the two other Murlocs, regardless of whether they had one more health or not. But it's something that can come into play potentially.
But that rock pool buff is given the war leader enough durability to stay on the board to be a platform for the mark of for the blessing of kings. And Rebobson is now in a world of hurt with just 9 health on turn 5.
Yeah, he's just facing down lethal next turn. We can see that Me, Myself, and I has the Bluegill Warrior in hand, and Rebobson has no way to prevent it. I don't even know if he has outs here.
I don't think so. I think all he can do is just play out a minion and hope that there's not a point of damage remaining in MMI's hand, but he's about to get the bad news right now.
Yep. Losing to Bluegill Warrior, that's definitely not something you see every day. Bluegill Warrior, just really not popular at all in Murloc builds. Sort of an odd tech choice from MMI there, but it works out for him.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive build of what little of we saw of it. It was the Grimscale Chum and the Bluegill Warrior. That's like a doubling down on the Murloc package for sure.
I think it makes sense though, given Rebobson's lineup. I would assume he's packing double Divine Favor as well, combined with a lot of the more aggressive Murlocs like Bluegill and like Grimscale Chum. That can do a lot of work against control decks like Warlock and Priest and most variants of Druid.
So that with the Paladin down in the Conquest mode, that leaves MMI with Rogue and Shaman, while Rebobson still has the remainder of his set with Druid, Priest, Warlock. So let's see where he goes. He sticks with the Warlock.
And we see a Quest Rogue from Me, Myself, and I.
Oh my goodness.
And I think that this was the right call. Again, we know that Rebobson is going to be bringing control. It's very difficult for people to bring aggressive Priest and aggressive Warlock builds. Even though Zoo is sort of coming back into the picture, it's still really unpopular. So I really like this call from Me, Myself, and I to bring Quest Rogue.
And Rebob throwing out the extraordinary, seeing that it's Quest Rogue. He's as impressed as we are by this pick. Have you played a lot of Quest Rogue? How strong do you think his Me, Myself, and I's opening hand is here?
So since the nerf, I have not played any. However, I did play it a decent amount before the nerf, and this is looking like a really good hand. All you really want are your bouncers, your Shadow Step attacks, and he has that and actions and turn in. So I think this is a very strong opener for me.
And Rebobson having more removal than he did in game 1. We see the Mortal Coil, the Drain Life, Hellfire, and another Defile comes into hand. So he's looking like he can handle quite a bit of pressure from the Rogue deck as it opens up.
Yep, he's got a lot of board clears for some early pressure, but once Me, Myself, and I completes the quest and all his minions become 5/5s, Hellfire and Defile aren't really going to do much. So Rebobson is sort of in an awkward spot where he's being forced to pressure the Rogue before it can complete its quest. That's really the only way he's going to win this game. He just doesn't have the board clears in his deck to deal with multiple swarms of oncoming 5/5s.
And with Me, Myself, and I, his hand now showing Firefly and Igneous Elemental, looks like this is more of the slower version as opposed to the one packing lots of chargers to bounce back from Vanish and the other bounce effects. So these two Vanishes may not be as instrumental as they would be in assembling lethal, but I imagine that if Rebobson gets down some more taunts, then these Vanishes could actually be very handy in finishing off the game.
Yeah, I think Vanish is still a really strong card in this matchup with how much late game this deck has. As the game goes on, it's only going to get more powerful.
So Rebob expending some of those resources to start clearing off the board. Me, Myself, and I drawing into a Glacial Shard, which, even though that's more of an aggressive anti-aggro tool, that may be of some help against some of these bigger minions that the Warlock deck can play.
Yeah, he can't play Vanish yet, so the Glacial Shard might come in handy in freezing this Twilight Drake potentially. I think we're going to see him do that now. Me, Myself, and I, he has a count of 2 on the quest, so I believe this means if this Igneous Elemental dies, he will have all the Flame Elementals necessary to complete the quest.
And Rebobson, with the Defile in hand, he actually could make a full clear here if he wanted to.
I don't hate it. I think Defile is pretty solid.
So yeah,
Looks like he's going to choose to go wide instead.
I think too, with people playing against Quest Rogue are slow to try and kill the Igneous Elemental. They want to make sure that it can't trade itself away, so that it, or at least prevent it as much as possible, so that it makes the Rogue more difficult to complete the quest.
Yeah, it's probably smart. Rebobson doesn't really have much in the way of cards in his hand now. It's really just all board clears and removal, but he wants to go wide early and try to pressure the Rogue because, like I said earlier, it's really the only way that he wins the game. He's not going to win this game by trying to get a lot of value out of his board clears because the onslaught of 5/5s is just going to be too much.
Yeah, and Me, Myself, and I now holds enough flame elementals to complete the quest at his leisure. It's just a question of when and how he's going to do that, facing off against this early minion pressure from Rebobson.
Yep, he could get the quest in his hand this turn, but he has no prep, so he wouldn't be able to activate it. So he might just play out a couple flame elementals, hold one of them, so that next turn he can play a flame elemental and proc quest in the same turn.
Looks like that's exactly the play. The fifth and final flame elemental goes into hand just ahead of the rope. Rebobson drawing into more removal. No minion pressure coming into the hand. He's going to have to tap here to get something good. Gul'dan.
Yeah, this is
not
this
good
is
enough.
Such an awkward situation. Like he wants to deal with this board because he knows the quest can be completed next turn. But if he doesn't go face now, when is he ever going to be able to win the game?
Yeah, and a Hellfire would just clear his own board, which is exactly what he's going to do. He knows that the threat of his potentially 4 or 5/5s is not worth keeping his own 3/3s on board.
Yep, I think the Hellfire makes sense. It sucks to clear your own minions, but it was really the only way that he wins. He's gotten the Rogue down to 8, so if he can somehow make it to Bloodwreather Gul'dan, maybe he'll have enough damage to finish out the game.
And Patches obediently staying in the deck for Me, Myself, and I. The Shadow Step's going to give Me, Myself another 5 damage off of this, and that's going to set up lethal next turn. Or it would have if he would have played Patches, but he holds Patches in the hand for the remaining lethal. But Rebobson picks up the Abyssal Enforcer, which could set Me, Myself, and I down to 5, but it's not enough to stop if Me, Myself, and I gets another charger or just plays the Vanish next turn and finishes out the game.
I wonder if Rebobson is running Twisting Nether in this deck. It's not played in every control Warlock, but I think he really has to hope that he has that and draws it next turn. He just has to Siphon Soul here, I think, and then maybe if he draws Nether, he can survive until turn 10.
Right, Rebob has to contend with the possibility that Me, Myself, and I is holding a Vanish or another Shadow Step or some other bounce effect, which would allow Patches to deliver 10 damage next turn. We see that he has it, but Rebob is calculating the risk. Do I allow that to happen, or do I try and present my own lethal threat this turn?
Yep. Difficult choice. He goes with the Siphon, which will save him for now. Me, Myself, and I has so much gas in his hand, though. That Mimic Pod is a huge pickup.
Mimic Pod picking up Bilefin Hunters. That's 2 5/5s for the price of just 2 mana. Pretty hard to pass up. That's a good deal.
Yep, goes ahead and plays them out, hits his opponent for another 5, and he's forcing Rebobson to have that Twisting Nether. Otherwise, he just has an easy lethal on board.
And with no Twisting Nether coming into hand, the Twilight Drake is not enough is not going to prevent any damage. Rebobson is just going to have to concede this game, unfortunately.
Nope, I think he's out of luck. He'll tap, hoping for something. Despicable Dreadlord is not it.
So, assuming the concede here, that's going to put Me, Myself, and I up 2 games to none, leaving just the Shaman. The Shaman has 3 shots at finishing this series, but I gotta say, Druid, Priest, Warlock, that is a tall order for a Shaman, even at three chances.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Priest is probably one of the more difficult matchups. Of course, depends a lot on how the Priest is built and on how the Shaman is built. But Warlock is definitely unfavored, in my opinion. The Warlock just has too many board clears against a deck that completely relies on having the board to win.
So we know that we will see the Shaman from MMI. The question is, what is Rebob going to queue up? And I think you're right. I think he's probably want to go with his best shot, and that would be the Warlock. And it would also allow him to conceal the remaining two decks, so give him a little bit of a leg up going into those two matches if he lives that long.
Yeah, it's tough. I think Warlock probably gives him the best percentage chance, but there's a lot of merit to just switching off a deck that you've just lost 2 games with. It can be pretty tilting. And looks like Rebobson is going to switch, going with the Priest. This is looking like a Rizaka's Priest so far, given the Doomsayer and the Thalnos.
Yeah, I don't hate the switch if it's a Highlander Priest. Shadow Word Horror is a huge tool against Warlock. Any spell damage like Thanos plus Spirit Lash also very good. So me, myself, and I, check this out: Flame Wreath Faceless. There's a choice you don't see every day in Shaman.
It is throwback time for me, myself, and I. First, we saw the Quest Rogue, then an aggro Shaman. I have not seen that deck in a while.
Yeah, that's a Lava Burst. This is just 2016 aggro Shaman.
And this has historically done well against Priest. It never had to play against Highland Priest. Really, that was never a deck that was too much in the meta before the introduction of Shadow Reaper Anduin. But honestly, I might give the slight edge to me, myself, and I here.
Yeah, the 4-mana 7/7 probably playing the same role that Bittertide Hydra has started to play in the meta, where it's just an early big body that Priest has a difficult time removing without, also leaving other smaller stuff on the board. So far though, me, myself, and I, not a great hand to start with. Like no early pressure. The Flame Wreath Faceless may have to be coined out here. Rebob going to get some card draw off of the bump from the Northshire Cleric and pulls it to Rizaka's coming up on turn 4.
Wow. I mean, there is a reason why Aggro Shaman doesn't see play anymore. They don't have Tunnel Trog or Totem Golem, which means they have a much weaker and less consistent early game. So we can see that me, myself, and I's first play is just coining out the Flame Wreath Faceless. And this is normally extremely strong against Priest, but Rebobson does have the 1 copy of Shadow Word Death in his hand, which he's going to go ahead and play now.
Yeah, and that also leaves me, myself, and I with just 2 mana after the Overload, which the only option he has there is Jade Claw or just another hero power. Gonna go with the Jade Claw. And the end of turn healing is going to give Rebobson another card because of the Northshire Cleric remaining on the board.
Yeah, that's an interesting interaction. And Rebobson is just drawing all the cards that he wants right now. He already has Kazakus in hand, which is one of the most powerful cards in this matchup.
Shadow Reaper Anduin just comes into hand under absolutely no pressure. Rebob can continue drawing cards and developing some early trade material. So far, even though the Aggro Shaman may have been a good call, but Rebobson is looking in pretty good shape here.
Yeah, I would say he is very favored in this position. Me, myself, and I is mousing over that Devolve right now. That 1/6 is really hard to deal with unless he just turns it into a Murloc Tiny Fin. Or
no! Nat Pagel appears out of the Devolve. That's just more card draw for Rebobson that me, myself, and I can't answer.
Wow. That's
and
crazy.
He caught one.
He gets the draw.
Rebobson now with a full hand. He's got a full grip, and he has his choice of things to do. Quite a number of early game tools. He could play out the Kazakus whenever he wants. If he gets Raza, I suspect this game may be coming to a quick close.
I mean, a full hand on turn 6 against Shaman, that's really not something you see every day. I think I'd go ahead and throw out the Kazakus here. He's not under any pressure, but just go ahead and be proactive. Try to get a board clear just in case your opponent is able to come back on the board and extend their lead.
There is a consideration though, because if he plays Kazakus, his hand remains at 10 cards. He has to burn a card somewhere to prevent burning a card out of the deck. And same goes for the power word shield. He has to place something and have it not cycle.
I think you can just play out the Hungry Crab. Me, Myself, and I really isn't going to have any Murlocs in this deck. I don't think Aggro Shaman would play Primal Fin Totem, so it's just a 1-2 in this match. Interesting that he chooses to go for the Doomsayer instead, trying to set up an empty board for Kazakus, I assume. Either way, this Doomsayer is almost guaranteed to go off.
Yeah, with the 9 health, that's pretty much gonna guarantee it. Although Me, Myself, and I just draws into a Doomhammer. That's a pretty
Wow.
good position. It's gonna burn the Jade Claws, but being able to set the Doomhammer while under no pressure, that's not a bad thing, a bad place to be.
Yeah, this was a pretty bad start for Me, Myself, and I, but he has a lot of burn in hand. Weapon removal is pretty unlikely in priest decks from what I've seen, so I wouldn't be surprised if this Doomhammer sticks around for a full 4 turns.
That's exactly where he goes with it. And having a weapon equipped, plus the Southsea deckhands, plus the Southsea captain, that's a lot of damage in hand. That is a ton of damage for Me, Myself, and I.
Yeah, this is pretty insane, and Rebobson is going to struggle to put a clock on Me, Myself, and I to prevent the amount of turns he has to expend all of this burn. He has Shadow Reaper Anduin in hand, but he doesn't quite have Raza, so he's only going to be able to get 2 to 4 damage in each turn once he plays Shadow Reaper Anduin.
And Rebobson gets pretty much the potion he wants there. Deal 4 damage to all minions, gain 7 armor. That's perfect. Here come the pirates for Me, Myself, and I. Just from the pirates alone, that is 14 damage developed right away when you include the weapon. And he goes all face, which is the place to be.
I would go all face as well. He is not quite setting up lethal, I think, or oh wow, the greater healing potion coming into hand. So yeah, that's definitely not going to be lethal next turn.
But with multiple board clears in his hand, Rebobson clears the board with the Spirit Lash and almost gets a full heal in return. The hero power is going to top it off. Or heal Kazakus, also good. Wow. All of a sudden, Me, Myself, and I pretty much out of gas. It's nothing but burn and a Firefly in his hand.
Maybe he can somehow still piece together this burn. He's still not under that much pressure, but it's so hard when your opponent is at 28.
Me, Myself, and I forced to use the Jade Lightning to clear the board. I can't imagine he's happy about having to use that as a swing piece as opposed to being able to throw it at the face.
He's hoping that by clearing the Kazakus, this board will stick, and he'll be able to get in at least 4 damage with his minions.
Oh my goodness!
Shadow Word Horror or Holy Nova both are easy clears.
And Rebob top decks Lyra the Sunshard to pair with that Shadow Word Horror, so the march of card advantage continues for Rebobson. Pulls the Shadow Word Pain, yet another tool to maintain this board state.
Yeah, that Lyra should seal the deal here. He already has the greater healing potion in hand, so Me, Myself, and I was already struggling to put together 24 damage. He definitely can't put together another 12, at least. I would be very surprised if he did.
Once again, the burn having to go towards clearing a threat on the board from Rebobson. Me, Myself, and I down to just 11 damage in hand, holding 4 in the weapon. Without something big off the top, he no longer is able to close out this game.
I do want to point out that Me, Myself, and I are playing to advance here. He held on the second swing of Doomhammer in case he top decked a Rockbiter weapon. That might have given him enough damage to close out the game. So Me, Myself, and I knows the way that he wins here, but he doesn't know that Rebobson has that greater healing potion in hand, which makes it pretty much impossible for him to win this one.
I really like the recognition from Rebobson. He hovered over Shadow Reaper Anduin, considering it for a second, then considered that thought of, what if he has a double Rockbiter and delivers 16 damage plus burn in hand, and he chose to play just a minion and a hero power to keep his health up. Very smart.
Yeah, I really like that play. Both players recognizing exactly how they're going to lose this game and playing to prevent that. Me, Myself, and I will pick up the Rockbiter here, but with that Priest of the Feast on board, it's just not going to be enough. He's had so much direct damage this game, but the heal of the Priest was just too much.
that Spirit Lash pushing him from 14 to 28 health was a game-winning play from Rebobson. I don't see any outs for me, myself, and I here. A second Shadow Word Pain coming into hand.
Wow.
Rebob has absolute control over this board state.
Yep, and he doesn't even have to play anything to win. He's at full health, has easy control of the board. All the spells in his hand can answer anything me, myself, and I puts out. So he's just going to sit here, heal his face, and wait until he wins the game.
The Flame Wreath Faceless coming into hand for me, myself, and I. That may draw out the Shadow Reaper Anduin. Looks like me, myself, and I is going to clear that Priest of the Feast. He knows he can't win as long as that healing is on the board.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many cheap spells in Rebobson's hand right now. But it just feels so bad putting 10 damage into your opponent's minions. You, myself, and I is going to put this Flame Wreath Faceless on the board, hoping that maybe if it sticks, he has a chance, but we know that Rebobson has the answer.
Yeah, that's going to clear the board once again for Rebobson at full health with a full grip. There's the concede. Me, myself, and I giving up the first game in the series. Rebobson taking his first game in the set and has still two pretty good decks to line up against this aggressive Shaman.
I will say that knowing that it is an aggro Shaman, the Warlock is not going to fare quite as well. It has difficulty dealing with the Flame Wreath Faceless, especially Warlocks these days do not run Blast Crystal Potion. So I think that was me, myself, and I's idea there, is have a better matchup against the Warlock by not bringing such a board-centric Shaman deck and having one with more burst, which Warlock is typically weak to.
So Rebob queues up the Druid up against this aggro Shaman, probably sensing the same thing you are, that his Warlock deck may not be as good a pick against it as it would be against Evolve Shaman. So we'll see. But we see Doomsayer and Spreading Plague, so Rebob has got a full anti-aggro suite in this deck probably. So this may actually be able to get him up to a game 5 in this set.
Yeah, it definitely can. I agree that Druid is probably going to be a better matchup. And this is a solid starting hand from Rebobson. Doomsayer is probably going to shut down any sort of early game that aggro Shaman has.
Look at the big game hunter for
that
Rebobson.
That
those Flame Wreath Faceless are going to have a startling reminder of 2014 as soon as they get played.
I really doubt that Rebobson put that card into his deck thinking of Flame Wreath Faceless, but wow, is it going to come through in this matchup?
I'm pretty sure he was probably thinking of Bittertide Hydra, but it works just as well against the 4-mana 7/7. Me, myself, and I, really, really bad hand opening up here. 4 and 5 mana plus a Southsea Captain with no pirates. One Flame Wreath or Flame Tongue Totem already dead. Second one coming into hand. Not a great start, although the Captain does pull out patches. He might be able to start hitting the gas pedal a little bit, although the Doomsayer has something to say about it.
That turn 2 Flame Tongue seems very odd instead of just toteming. I guess it sort of makes sense because he would have been able to pull the patches next turn. But I'm still unsure of it. This Corn Hero Power from Rebobson is a really heads-up play. It's going to play around the second Flame Tongue. Oh, but me, myself, and I picks up the clear with Rockbiter Weapon.
Oh man, what a great top deck from me, myself, and I. That's going to allow him to maintain this pressure on the board, and he'll be able to develop into those 4 and 5 mana cards he picked up at the beginning of the game.
Yep. Now his hand is looking a lot stronger. With the Doomhammer and with that is of reach that can be very powerful against the Druid.
I know he can't have been happy that he had to throw out the Rockbiter Weapon, but it allowed him to stay on board. And Rebob, with so far no big ramp cards, the Jade Blossom did come into hand, but he knows he has to challenge these 3 health minions. So Fandral just comes out on turn 4 naturally.
Yep, I think Fandral makes a lot of sense. Me, myself, and I is forced to trade into it and makes the right play here in playing the Flame Wreath Faceless, but it's gonna be punished by this on-curve big game hunter.
Welcome to 2014, me, myself, and I.
That has got to hurt.
with the overload though, me myself and his hand is too heavy again, so he's forced to just hero power and do not much else. Now Rebob can start working on his ramp turns. Yep,
Ooh,
there
he's
goes
gonna
the
ramp a
nourish for
nourish.
two.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean he's holding ultimate infestation, so
Yeah,
getting to Titty, he's going to be able to play it next turn.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, now that he is able to ramp 3 mana crystals in a single turn, that is going to set up for the UI, which is just such a powerful swing.
Aya taken off the board, leaves behind a 2/2, 5 cards coming into hand for Rebobson. That'll give him a grip of 8. Plus, he hasn't really taken any damage yet, and he gets the 5/5 to help control the board. Wow,
He's at 34 health.
my goodness. And Malfurion the Pestilent also sitting in hand. Second Ultimate Infestation got picked up from the draw from the first one. And that is a Primordial Drake that can very easily shut down any aggression that MeMyselfandI tries to put together.
Yeah, just look at Rebobson's hand, the Spreading Plague, the Primordial Drake, 2 very powerful taunts, and the 2 swipes. His hand is pretty much all just taunts and removal. He can
And
even play
another
the Death
taunt.
Knight if he wants to.
The Jade Behemoth gives him another taunt opportunity, but the Drake is enough to clear the board plus a hero power, so that even though the Doomhammer represented a great swing turn for MeMyselfandI, it ends up doing practically nothing because he was forced to clear the board, and then the taunt comes down behind it.
Yeah, the Primordial Drake makes a lot of sense just to clear off the Shaman's board. MeMyselfandI, he has 2 Devolves in hand, but he's going to choose to hold one of them and just clear off this Primordial Drake. I'm not so sure about that. He can expect his opponent to have more taunts, but with the 2 Devolves, I think he would want to go ahead and use one now, get some damage in with his Doomhammer to the opponent's face.
Well, I tell you though, he knows that he has to deal with Malfurion the Pestilent dropping 2/1/5 Scarabs at some point, and then there's also the possibility of Spreading Plague. So he may feel like he needs to hold 2 of them. MeMyselfandI drawing into more burn with a taunt in the way, not looking good.
Yeah, he's pretty much forced to devolve now, I think, if he wants to have any hope of having the damage to finish off the game. So we see he's going to go for that. Rebobson rules the bomb squad.
Oh my goodness.
Probably by far the worst rule that he could have gotten at this stage of the game.
Well, if you can take that 5 damage, you go ahead and take it. Leroy's going to come down and deal an additional 6, but it's not going to be enough, unfortunately. There's quite a bit more armor left to be gained in Rebob's hand.
Yep, he still has the Death Knight. He can just play that now, get 2 1/5s onto the board, clear off a decent amount of the board as well.
Yeah, and he already used 1 swipe, so he can't combine the 2 to make a full clear. It looks like he's thinking about Malfurion the Pestilent for the armor gain and the additional taunts. I would imagine he would probably want to attempt to clear out the Leroy with the minions, and maybe hero power and then Malfurion to set up 2 additional taunts. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I would think so. I think it makes a lot of sense. He could Malfurion and attack the Stoneclaw Totem if he wants to, and guarantee the kill on the Leroy with his 2 1/1s, because he's probably not ever dead from 14. But he could also just play it safe and heal.
He does go for the Malfurion play. The looks like the whelps are going to go into the taunt totem, and he's just going to leave Leroy. He's not even going to bother answering it. Says, "I've got 2 1/5 taunts. What are you going to do about it?"
Yep, it's fine. He's at 22 health. 2 taunts in the way. Even if the devolve happens, he's still guaranteed to survive until the next turn, and is going to be able to set up lethal on MeMyselfandI. He's at 12 health.
Yeah, continually taking that face damage in an attempt to control the board means that he's at great risk of being counter lethal, which is exactly what's going to happen. He didn't get the taunt totem, and that's it. MeMyselfandI recognizes the lethal situation, and that evens up the series now. Rebobson gets 2 quick games after dropping 2 with the Warlock, but now the Warlock has some work to do against this aggressive Shaman.
this matchup or this match has come down to the line. Rebobson, who plays for Prep Coin Concede, his team is up 8-3 right now in the series with 2 matches already played. So Myself and I really needs to get those points.
Yeah, their Prep Coin Concede. I will reveal my caster bias. I am the 3 seed for that team. And I tell you what, these guys practice and talk constantly. They are always studying matchups. They're always trying to come up with the next edge. So not surprised to see Rebob be able to pick out some wins, even in what looked like it was going to be an unfavored series. Now it's a game 5. So I think it really comes down to the mulligan. Can Rebobson mulligan against this aggressive shaman, and can Myself, and I get enough aggression going to put this game away?
Yeah, he already has the Doomsayer. That is a huge key in winning this matchup, just preventing the shaman's early game tempo.
Tainted Zealot coming into the hand on the turn 1 draw. That will be a huge help in combination with Defile and Hellfire, which comes into the hand on 2.
Yep.
Once again, Myself, and I. Sorry.
Oh no, Rebobson is getting some nice board clears with the Hellfire and the Despicable Dreadlord, and even able to combo the Hellfire with the Tainted Zealot, possibly.
Myself, and I, again, not getting an early start in these in this hand. Gonna just go ahead and throw out the Flame Tongue Totem again.
Loves that turn 2 Flame Tongue.
But what's I can tell you, he has the South Sea Captain, so he can pull out patches. But having seen that twice already, Rebob recognizes it, throws out the Doomsayer, protected by the taunt. So the Flame Tongue Totem combination going to fail for Myself, and I.
Yeah, I don't really agree with throwing out the Voidwalker with the Doomsayer. I think the Doomsayer was already safe anyways outside of Devolve, and in that case, why are you throwing another minion that could be useful as a taunt later on into it?
Yeah, I guess, is there a combination of cards that Myself could play at 3 mana that would deal 7 damage?
I'm trying to think. I don't think there is. Maybe Jade Claws plus South Sea Deckhand.
So the Devolve is going to answer. Devolve's going to make it irrelevant. It clears the Doomsayer and the taunt.
Yeah, actually, no. Jade Claws plus South Sea exactly would do it. So I guess he's playing around that.
Well, the second Doomsayer just came into hand for Rebobson. What a top deck. So he says, do you have a second Devolve? Myself does, but does he want to burn it right now?
Yeah, this is tough. Devolve wants to be saved to get through taunts, but then again, what taunts does Rebobson run in his deck, really, besides Voidwalker?
Well, Patches does decide to come out and play, but for the wrong team. That is a 1-mana minion, though. Oh, and Defile comes into hand.
Wow.
Rebobson really is pulling in all of the tools he needed to keep this board under control.
That Defile plus the Tainted Zealot is going to be very strong later. Right now, Myself, and I is forced to deal with this board. He can South Sea and pull Patches out. And that will deal with the Despicable Dreadlord. And he has to roll a taunt here, though, if he wants to protect his Flame Tongue.
Although that's going to play directly into a Defile if Rebobson wants to play it. But he has options. He also has the Hellfire. He even has the Mortal Coil if he wants to go halfway. Looks, the Vial's coming into play. And a heal from the Earthen Ring Fireseer. Rebob having only taken now net 1 point of damage on turn 6. Myself, and I has both Flame Wreath Facelesses, but the Doomsayers have delayed the game long enough for Rebob to be able to play Siphon Soul for an immediate answer.
Yeah, I really like the Defile play because it lets Rebobson get the Earthen Ring Fireseer on the board, and now he's able to control the board completely, using the Siphon Soul to take out the Flame Wreath Faceless and using Earthen Ring Fireseer to trade into the totem. And now Myself, and I is completely off of the board. He's forced onto the defensive, and Rebobson's at full health.
And Rebob had been holding both Siphon Souls to answer both of these Flame Wreath Facelesses. Myself, and I is out of development aside from the Feral Spirit and the Primal Fin Totem. But again, Hellfire remaining in the hand for Rebob.
Yeah. This is crazy. Me, myself, and I just keeps trying to get onto the board, and Rebobson is always having the answer.
MeMyself does hold the Primal Fin just in case there's another one, but look at this Lich King off the top.
That's crazy. This can pull a lot of things to deal with wide boards, and he gets
And he
the
picks it up.
That has to be the best one. Whew.
Could not have asked for a better card. 1 in 8, and he picks up the AOE that the Lich King can offer. What? This is crazy. This is Pavel level top decking from Rebobson.
Oh, and Me, myself, and I is investing the Rock Biter into killing the Lich King. It is the most efficient way to deal 8 damage, but it feels so bad using that when you have ready in hand. Now, Me, myself, and I is going to struggle so hard to come up with the damage to end the game.
But what other choice did he have? Both of the defiles went to answering Doomsayers. So now he has no way to remove any big threats from Rebobson, and here comes the Twilight Drake and the Despicable Dreadlord to set up quite a beefy board. And Me, Myself, and I just holding little bitty Primal Fin Totem, Firefly, Jade Lightning will make a 2/2. It's just not enough.
This is tough. Me, myself, and I really has to get some very specific draws to even have a chance in this game. He's facing down an 8 damage a turn clock from Rebobson, and that is only going to grow because he's putting on almost no pressure with just these Primal Fins and Fireflies. Rebobson should know at this point that Bloodlust is not a card in Me, Myself, and I's deck, so he doesn't even have to clear his opponent's board.
The Earthen Ring Farseer comes into hand to allow Rebob to heal and play out the Happy Ghoul, to just further increasing the damage. That's going to set Me, Myself, and I to 15, which means Rebobson now has but lethal in hand with the Hellfire if Me, Myself does not have an answer. Taunt Totem not going to do it. Jade Lightning going to the face in desperation, but that Hellfire is going to come down, and that's going to end it.
What a crazy swing from Rebobson. He just had all the answers this game. Those 2 Doomsayers, even though they got devolved, it slowed down Me, Myself, and I enough to get to his late game, which is where the Warlock wants to be against this aggressive Shaman deck.
Just mid-game bomb after mid-game bomb from the Warlock. Rebob counting it all up. Actually, he does have to contend with the taunt. That leaves just that'll put Me, Myself, and I at 4, but yeah,
exactly.
Spell power plus Hellfire will do it. That completes the reverse sweep from Rebobson. That, as you were noting, Prep Coin Concede just picked up 3 more points in the table after what looked like a lost series for Rebobson. So what a great series. I love to see these reverse sweeps and these great comebacks. Really great play on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. I think both players should be commended on their tech choices and deck archetype choices. Even though the aggro shaman didn't quite work out for Me, Myself, and I think that it was probably the right choice given Rebobson's lineup. So a lot of props for that, even though he ended up losing the series. That actually puts Prep Coin Concede up 12-5. So they are very close, just getting the win over Hearthstone Academy this week, who is the defending champs.
Very impressive stuff from Rebobson and from Prep Coin Concede. Props to my boys. So we're gonna get ready to go into the next match with Ridiculous Hat versus Dwayna. Mark, give us a little preview of this matchup here.
Yeah, so this is a really exciting matchup, I think. We have Dwayna on Druid, Hunter, Priest, and Warrior, and Ridiculous Hat on Druid, Hunter, Priest, and Shaman. But these players both have very extensive resumes. Dwayna, he was on Friday Night Fight, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, but he is a pretty well-known player in the pro scene. A lot of #1 legend finishes. And then Ridiculous Hat, our very own president of THL, and also a very strong player in only the couple seasons that he's been in this league. He's definitely made a name for himself. So I'm really looking forward to this particular matchup.
Ridiculous Hat, the president and also a client of Team Hearth League, representing the Pod people. And looking at my notes, I see that Ridiculous Hat is also representing field mice and other small mammals throughout the Hearthstone scene. His metabolism knows no limits, as I'm made to understand.
All right, so we have received word that this is a double druid ban from both
All right.
players.
That seems reasonable. Druid, despite the Innervate nerf and even the Spreading Plague going to 6 mana, Druid still seems to be quite strong.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't played that much Shade Druid after the nerf, but it still seems like a pretty strong deck. Innervate, of course, was one of the most powerful cards in the deck for sure, but I think it's still good. Definitely tier 1 or high tier 2 at worst.
So we are just waiting for them to enter the match here, and then we will begin our own spectation. And I'm looking at the set here. They both brought Hunter. They both bought Priests. The question mark here is Shaman and Warrior. So Hat, although we did just try to we guessed wrong on Me Myself and I, he brought the aggressive Shaman. So who knows what Hat's going to bring with the Shaman? But I think the other big question mark is the Warrior. What is Dwayne bringing with that
Yeah.
Warrior pick?
I am very interested to see that as well.
Right.
Hunter is a class that was thought to be one of the worst before the nerfs, but has really come into vogue now with a lot of players hitting top legend with it, and that's what we're seeing Dwayne lead with right now.
Yeah, in fact, I think we have our question answered on the Shaman with Primal Fin Totems and Bloodlusts. This is probably going to be a straight token / evolve package from Ridiculous Hat.
Yep, looks like a pretty standard list from Hat here, which should do well against the Hunter.
The Hunter gets a nice opening, though. Firefly in hand plus the Grandmother on 2 presents a pretty good trade material against Shaman, but double Primal Fin Totem is going to create more minions than Dwayne can trade away with. The Eaglehorn Bow may help, but we don't know if that's going to be enough for Dwayne to keep a hold on this board.
Yeah, he can only clear one of these minions, or one of these Primal Totems, sorry, so he's going to bow one of them and use his minions to trade into the 2 1/1s and still set up a very nice board versus the 0/3.
Saronite Chain Gang coming into hand for Ridiculous Hat. Pretty good card against Hunter, I would think, which tends to go wide early with smaller minions. So those double 2/3s will do a good job trading away.
Yeah.
Dwayne,
this Houndmaster is a really nice pickup, and it's going to let Dwayne clear the totem as well. And Ridiculous Hat has no Devolve in hand. He's going to struggle a little bit to get through this, although he does have the powerful Maelstrom and Flame Tongue combo.
Dust Devil comes out of the Maelstrom portal, and it's going to sit right next to that Flame Tongue totem to represent 10 damage. So Dwayne is going to need to come up with an answer for that. Well, Misha's enough, so she'll get traded away. But if Ridiculous Hat has a way to answer to punch through that 4/4, that's 10 damage, man. That's a chunk.
Yeah, that definitely could be a lot. And he is going to pick up the Jade Lightning. But I'm not even sure if he wants to do that because he has Maelstrom Portal in hand. That can clear off pretty much the whole board, even though he is wasting face damage. That's not really his win condition in this matchup. I think he's fine with just trading this Dust Devil into the Misha.
Yeah, now Dwayne just down to 3 cards, although the Bittertide Hydra comes into hand, and that's a huge pickup there. The Bear Shark's nice, but it's not survivable against this wide board of Ridiculous Hat.
Yeah, Hat just has a lot of ways to deal with this Hydra. If he wants to, he can Jade Lightning and trade into it, or he can simply ignore it and just keep going wide. I'm not sure if Dwayne is running an Unleash the Hounds or not in the list. If he isn't, he's really going to struggle to deal with all the minions Ridiculous Hat is putting down.
Yeah, in Ridiculous Hat picks up the Alakir the Windlord off of the Stonehill Defender, and with the good chance of this Flame Tongue totem surviving through Dwayne's sequencing here, that Alakir could represent. Oh, Dwayne is done.
Wow. I guess he didn't have Unleash in his deck.
It is. I can say it is. It is not a common tech right now, just because the wide decks don't seem to be in the meta anymore. So like
Mhm.
Unleash the Hound seems to be less and less relevant post nerf.
Yeah, I've seen it cut from most lists, I will say. Although in THL, when you know your opponent is bringing Shaman, there is some merit to putting it in. But Duena really didn't have any lines to win this game, so he's going to move on to the next one and switch to his Priest.
Ridiculous Hat queuing up the Hunter into Duena's lineup. So the priests, we see Shadow Reaper Anduin get mulliganed
Mhm.
away. Velen comes into the hand, so we know that this is definitely a very combo-oriented Highlander priest. And Hat will be opening up with a pretty good hand of small minions to start out with.
And he is running Unleash the Hounds in his list. But this is such strong opening, getting 2 1/1s and a 1/2 out on turn 1. Really no way that Duena can immediately deal with this, although I think he's content to just let these minions sit on the board and get a better Spirit Lash later, but he's just going to play it now. Interesting.
Yeah. I think perhaps Dueno was considering the threat of like a crackling razor maw being able to
Mm.
develop one of those into a 4-1, which I mean he still could have answered it with a lash after the fact. But Dwayne is going to go ahead and start drawing cards now with Thalnos and the Power Word Shield. He's if he's going to win this match, I think he probably has to combo down Ridiculous Hat as quickly as possible.
Yep. Yeah, definitely merit to saving the Spirit Lash there, although not all Razor Maw outcomes would have made the Alley Cats definitely dead if they had gotten Divine Shield or a Taunt. But this Thalnos sticking is really nice because Duena is going to be able to use it to trade into some of these minions. And I was going to say keep it alive with the heal, but he's choosing to heal his face instead, I guess wanting to have that Thalnos die sooner to draw through his deck.
Yeah, the Duena's build with that Velen being shown, like he's going to be drawing card after card after card, trying to get all the way through to his combo pieces, and he only has 4 cards right now. So I think that's exactly what he wants and needs to do. He needs to start getting through his deck.
Mm-hmm.
Although
Yeah.
Elise and Lyra coming into hand for a turn 5 play, what a pickup!
Yeah, really like the Elise here. Just get that 5/5 down on the board. It might eat the kill command here, but still a solid minion that has the potential to trade into some of Ridiculous Hat's minions.
Deadly Shot gives him a clean answer and allows him to push 6 more damage with the hero power. The Bear Shark also came into hand for Ridiculous Hat. That's a difficult minion for Priest to handle.
Yeah, very hard for attack. Can't be targeted by any of Priest spells, and this Priest deck is usually one that play off the board a lot. It's not going to have a lot of leaf pressure. This Lyra is pretty strong here. Dwayne is going to pick up at least 2 spells.
Yeah, Dwayne not wasting any time and trying to generate resources with that Lyra, and it presents a 3/5 body for trading. Hat, though, he can start developing wide, but we see that Dwayne picked up at the top of last turn Dragonfire Potion. So he's any big development here by Ridiculous Hat is going to be shut down pretty quickly.
Yeah, he has the Dragonfire Potion and the Holy Nova picked up from the Lyra, so that's going to do a lot in the way of clearing Ridiculous Hat's board.
And Hat feeling forced to burn the kill command to get rid of that Lyra so he can maintain his minion pressure. But Duena can meet this now with the Holy Nova if he wants to. Otherwise, the Glimmer Root may come into play. Yep, there's the Nova.
Yep, Holy Nova leaves a 2/1 on the board, but Dragonfire Potion is definitely powerful board clear, so I think it makes a lot of sense for Duena to save it.
So with 2 4/3s being presented by the priest or by the hunter, the priest he's pretty much forced to use the Dragonfire Potion here.
Yeah, that's rough. And that's 2 board clears used now. Of course, one of them wasn't in Duena's deck to start with. But now I think Ridiculous Hat feels pretty free to just go as wide as he can.
Wow, great refill from Ridiculous Hat. The 4/3 now not having any clean answer. Misha presenting a huge problem. Duena, I think, has to go for Kazakis with a 5-mana potion to try to pick up the 4 damage to the entire board. The first offering does not give him the AoE option. He's going to go probably for the freeze here, I would think. And he doesn't get the damage.
Oh, wow. No damage, no armor, and no board clear. The freeze is going to let him survive the turn, but still, these minions are still on the board, and Dwayna doesn't have another board clear available to him yet.
Dwayna does pick up the Tar Creeper, so that will give him a little bit of stalling, and also the Leok hitting the board means
Wow.
that they could be cleared by Anduin if he wants to do it, but he's down to 8 life. Like, Dwayna's dead on board.
That's true. He can silence the Scavenging Hyena first, and then play Shadow Reaper Anduin. If he plays it first, then the Hyena, of course, will grow and will no longer get killed off by the Kazakus.
The heal coming in first, that'll leave Dwayna with 8 life. It'll give him room to do that exact play, and only that play if that's what he chooses to do, because I don't see any other line out of his hand that leaves him alive. He has all of his combo pieces. There's Raza, there's Shadow Reaper Anduin. Velen's been in the hand since the beginning, but he has to survive long enough to get this off.
Yeah, I think he has to. It at least will gain him 5 armor, which is a decent amount. He loses the ability to heal for 2 each turn, but most priest lists are running greater healing. Oh, and so yeah, he can just silence afterward.
That's true, yeah.
It doesn't actually matter.
Right. So now at 15 life, with just a Leok on the board, but Hat snap picks the Razor Maul off the top to Divine Shield it, give it a little bit of life. Ridiculous Hat now has to dump the entire hand, and he's out of gas. Yeah, this is it. Because he knows that unless there's a healing potion in Dwayna's hand, this is all the damage that Hat's going to be able to do. He needs all of it.
Yeah, Dwayna's going to go ahead and play Raza. That's going to let him get several 2 damage pings in this turn, so I think it makes a lot of sense to go ahead and play first. He can play the Tar Creeper, even fit the Doomsayer in if he wants to, but he can't fit it in with the Smite.
He does have a number of options here, but Dwayna needs to figure out a way to maximize his hero powers and his spell usage to prevent Hat from pushing through and delivering lethal.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Just going with the Tar Creeper and killing off the Leok completely. It leaves his opponent with several minions on board, but they're all relatively health. And that's another low roll Razor Maul, I think. Health, Taunt, or Wind Fury, neither of them do that much for Hat in this situation.
Yeah, the most it does is allow Ugly Cat to survive a trade into the Tar Creeper, and now Dwayna has quite a number of small cards in his hand to start machine gunning down with that hero power.
Yep. Oh, and there's the
healing potion.
Wow.
He almost played the Radiant Elemental before he saw that potion, and he stopped to think, hang on a second, Dwayna, we got a big heal coming up. We're going to win this game.
Yep. Almost missed a hero power there, but yeah, he gets all of them in, and with this greater heal potion, that is pretty much going to seal out the game for Dwayna here. Really close one.
Quick concede from Hat after seeing the potion. Dwayna now evens the series 1-1. Hat has the Hunter and the Priest remaining. Dwayna has the Hunter and the Warrior remaining. So possibility for a Hunter mirror, perhaps?
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting matchup. I haven't played much Hunter myself, but I thought the reason that it was popular was because of the good matchup against Priest. And it did seem like Hat was going to win there for a long time, but then Dwayna had the swing turn pretty much with Raza, or with the DK and then into the Raza that let him take it.
Yeah, it's really great recognition by Dwayna. Oh, we're going to see the Warrior now, so really curious to see what this is. That's a Taunt Warrior.
Wow.
I've been studying the Taunt Warrior post nerf, and even though the numbers don't play out, I feel like Taunt Warrior is really strong in this matchup.
Taunt Warrior was instrumental in Seohyun's top 2 finish at the most recent DreamHack. I think the deck still has some potential. This matchup, I'm not too sure about though.
And not to self-promote, but Sehun was actually on the Coin Concede podcast this week, which it hasn't released yet, but it will soon. And he spent quite a bit of time talking exactly about the pick of Taunt Warrior. So if you want to get into his head about that matchup, check that out. It's very cool.
Nice.
In the meantime, though, Dwayna picking up quite a number of AOE's and taunt tools to fight off aggression, but this is Highlander Priest. This is not aggression. Although Hat has put together 6 damage on board from early minions.
He has curved out Northshire Cleric into Radiant Elemental, into Curious Glimmerroot. Really not something you see every day, but I don't think Dwayna is too bothered by this particular opening. Northshire Cleric is annoying for sure, but he still has a lot of taunts in hand, and he is well on his way to completing the quest. He's actually just going to pass here instead of playing the Stonehill to deny Ridiculous Hat the draw value from the Northshire Cleric. Interesting.
Yeah, because Dwayna can't even whirlwind and sleep with the fishes to clear it would leave the cleric at 1 health, so he has to come up with a different solution.
Okay, so he's waiting until this turn to do it. Goes for the Ravaging Ghoul plus the sleep, which will clear everything except the 1/1 damaged Northshire Cleric. So he does give his opponent a draw this way, but now drawing is not as good for Ridiculous Hat because the Northshire is now pretty vulnerable.
And the draw from the cleric this turn picks up Kazakis, a very important tool for Ridiculous Hat in this matchup, I would think, because he is looking at very little minion pressure after those few early minions have been cleared.
Yep, and Dwayna, he can clear off this Northshire now. He does have access to the Blood Razor, which will be able to hit plus the Battle Cry, but he chooses to go with Stonehill instead. Which is interesting. I would think that in this matchup you want to prevent the priest from drawing into their Raza and into their Death Knight. But I guess Dwayna just wants to advance his taunt counter right now.
Yeah, and honestly, that is kind of the win condition for the Taunt Warrior. He needs to get to Sulfuras and then to his the respective hero power in order to finish out this game. But he has to get there before the Raza Anduin combo gets online.
Yep, the Doomsayer will go off. So now Dwayna has a clear board to play his taunts. Ali Armorsmith isn't quite as on curve as Bloodhoof because it will cause him to miss a hero power, but is overall the more powerful card, I think.
How dangerous is it to play an Ali Armorsmith into a Priest on turn 7? That is a big risk. The Alkanai Soul Priests can come down and really flip this game around if had it in his hand.
That's true. Cabal Shadow Priest.
Or Cabal Shadow Priest, excuse me.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something to take into account. I feel like that's been phased out of most lists recently, although it's definitely something to still be aware of.
But Dwayna still picking up his taunt count here. Armorsmith's going to give him a little bit of life back, along with the bump from the Armorsmith. Hatch still hasn't taken any damage, and of note, that Kazakis potion is a draw 2, as well as deal 5 damage. So he's going to start getting pretty deep into his deck here pretty quickly. Wow.
Hat is going to hit in to make the Bloodhoof Brave 5 attack and get the kill from Shadow Reaper Anduin. And while he has that online, he hasn't drawn Raza quite yet. He has some draw in his hand, but for now, that 2 damage hero power is going to be a little bit awkward to use. It's going to take up a lot more of his turn.
And Hat has been holding a Shadow Word Horror for some time. That's going to give him a full clear on this turn coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now Dwayna is out of taunts. He played a lot of them early, but he only has 4 out of the 7 taunts that he needs to complete this quest. All he has is just Blood Razors and removal.
Ridiculous Hat picking up Prophet Velen off the top deck from turn 9. If he picks up Raza, this game is all but over, I would think, with no minion pressure in the hand for Dwayna.
I would think so, yeah. Dwayna really needs Primordial Drake or Curator, just a powerful taunt that can advance his quest and also pressure Ridiculous Hat, but he just doesn't have any minions to play right now.
When Velen is played along with
and
the Holy Smite in hand, there's the Raza. Oh no!
Wow.
So if I remember correctly, Velen by himself plus a Holy Smite does, I think, 14 damage.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
somewhere in that neighborhood, and that's gonna cut Dwayna's health in half, with Dwayna having no commensurate threat to fire back. I imagine we got to see the Raza here. Yep, there it is.
Yep.
And the chip damage is going to start rolling in. The Priest of the Feast coming down really just for the body, and then for the additional hero power activation. Dwayna is in a world of hurt.
Dwayna is still out of resources, and these top decks aren't helping him. Doomsayer does pretty much nothing in the stage of the game. He'll be able to execute and try to clear something off the board, but at this point, minion pressure is not what he's worried about. He's worried about just dying to the Priest hero power, and he is very close to doing just that with how much damage Ridiculous Hat has in hand.
Has Hat played a Shadow Word Pain yet? I think he did earlier.
I believe he has, yes.
Okay, so no answer from the Shadow Word Visions if you wanted to pick off this Doomsayer, but does he need to? Oh, he can silence it. So he's going to pick up the silence. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I would say the silence is less important as clearing the Doomsayer, and more important as just another 2 damage. That's really all that Hat cares about right now, I think.
And Hat stealing it for 1 mana just to get an additional activation. And all of a sudden, Dwayna is down to 11 life. Or no, he's going to go down to 9 here. Oh my goodness.
Dwayna finally picks up a taunt, but it's just too little too late for him. The Velen next turn is going to be lethal from Hat.
Dwayna forced to play it out. It's the only play he has.
Yep.
It has to even give the card draw off the Thalnos, but this is going to do it. 2 plus Velen plus 4 plus 4 plus another 4 is a lot of damage.
Yep. That is going to end it. Ridiculous Hat is going to go up 2-1 in the series with only his Hunter remaining.
So Hat having Hunter to play against the Hunter and the Warrior, the Hunter can race down a Taunt Warrior, I would think, if it gets the right draws, although it can get some pretty terrible draws. But I think that Hunter mirror, if we get to it, it's going to be really... Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
this Hunter mirror is going to be...
We have that now.
Where that's the whole the series right here. If Dwayna can equalize this, it's going to be a very interesting Game 5.
And this is a nice starting hand from Dwayna, getting the Firefly into the Animal Companion, into the top-decked Houndmaster.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is looking like a very strong curve. And in this mirror, whoever goes first usually has the advantage. Hunter is just such a tempo-based, aggressive deck that getting your minions out first is very powerful.
Really, both players getting pretty good starts here. Kindly Grandmothers on both sides. Firefly in hand. Second Firefly now in hand for Dwayna. Hat can follow with the Grandmother or the Crackling Razor Maw plus Eaglehorn Bow on 3. Dwayna with the Animal Companion on 3. This is going to require quite a lot of brain power for both of these players to navigate perfectly.
Yeah, if you are going second in the Hunter mirror, having Coin 2 drop is really what you want, especially when it's Coin Grandmother into Razor Maw. And Hat's gonna get this Kindly Grandmother or get this Big Bad Wolf and just go face with it. And I think that's the correct play. Dwayna's not really going to be able to deal with this 3-5.
Although the role of Leok gives Dwayna a clean answer to one of the minions, which is going to set the clock back for Hat quite a bit and leave Hat with being on the back foot, being forced to develop just the bow into turn 3, unless he wants to waste mana on either the Grandmother or the Hyena.
Yeah, very nice role from Dwayna. I think you just... does set up for a better Houndmaster potentially. Getting the Houndmaster on the Grandmother can be very strong.
Second kill command comes into hand for Ridiculous Hat, allows him to clear the Leok and then reestablish the lead on the board. But yeah, here comes the Houndmaster from Dwayna to increase his counter to up to 7 damage per turn plus hero power and a taunt in the way. Hat can answer it though.
Yeah, he doesn't have any silence in his deck. deal with this, but he does have the eagle horn bow. It does feel sort of awkward to play the bow here because he is floating a mana, and it's so critical to use your mana efficiently in the early turns, I think. But he was sort of forced to play the bow just to deal with the board there.
Yep. And now with Dwayna's bow coming down, it is full control of the board for Dwayna. He'll be able to develop a couple of 1/2s off the Firefly and establish quite a nice presence here. Hat has no clean answer for this board.
Yep, Hat's gonna tracking for an answer here. He can get high main, but I'm not sure how good that is when he's behind on the board like he is now.
And he just plays out the tempo hyena, interestingly. That Dwayna can just clear that hyena and make it a non-issue.
Oh, but Dwayna top decks his high.
Man.
Oh, looks like he's not gonna play it though.
Yeah, I like this actually. This allows him to make a full clear and maintain his board lead, because he knows if he leaves Hat's board alone, Hat can kill commands. He might be do something crazy like a Tundra Rhino and start leveraging death rattles. So yeah, Dwayne's just gonna clear the board here.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. I think definitely better.
Unleash the Hounds comes off the top.
That is a huge combo. Wow.
And Hat had a second hyena. I think he was lulling Dwayna into a little bit of false security, thinking that he threw away his scavenging hyena, but he had the second one in hand.
Wow, 10 attack hyena is huge, but Dwayna's gonna be able to set up his own and threaten lethal right now.
Yeah, Hat showing 17 damage, not enough. He needed something else off the top to finish the game, and he's gonna have to figure out a way for Dwayna not to just win outright.
So what can Hat do here? He can clear off the Savannah Highmane with Kill Command and then take a trade into the Direwolf. That would take off the most damage off of the board. But if he plays Kill Command, he's not developing one. I don't know if he can live if he plays Highmane though, can he?
So if he trades away the Direwolf Alpha, that takes 4 damage off of Dwayna's clock, which would actually leave Hat alive at 1 if Dwayna doesn't draw any damage off the top. So that's what Hat's gonna do. He's gonna just hope that Dwayna gets no damage off the top, and he doesn't.
Wow.
So Hat now setting up his own lethal threat that Dwayna has to answer. This is why I was really excited to see this matchup, because these small decisions make all the difference in the world in this mirror.
So Dwayna's going to be forced to trade. He still